that, but before then, we'll take another presentation. And then when we take this presentation, we would also invite the scholars. I'm just giving you a heads up about what we want to do. We invite the scholars to make very quick, 1-2 minutes, so that they are the reasons for which we are gathered here. And if for nothing, we'd like to hear their voices, even if all they say is, hello, I'm happy to be here. We'll still take that. So I would like to invite our next speaker. So as I have said, we've been very deliberate in the choice of the people that we put together here. I visited the university yesterday in Lagos. And one of the conversations I like to have, as well as I did in Kumasi, is that living in the Western world has hypersensitized me about the need for inclusion in all that we do. And the conversation I had went beyond equality, women equality, to equity. And it becomes complicated once we use the word equity. So we go through, including in my university, CARLETON, until, in more recent years. And you look at the wall of chairs or departments in the university, and they're all, I didn't say that. And so one of the women I have spoken to have always said that, as a matter of fact, and I bear testimony to that, now some of the smartest students on the percentage level that they teach in their classes are young girls, are women. How come after that it is not replicated in governance and in public spaces and in university administration? And I said, well, that's a very poignant question. And the person I was talking with said, this is a question that women must have to address. And I hear echoes of that as well from the presentations, including from Professor Dunaike. You are more than scholars, you are advocates. And I think that's part of the value to be taken out of here. And we'll put this into consideration because they are indeed extremely accomplished women. And just before I hand this over, I'm using the opportunity to further ventilate our project. We received virtually, I think, up to over 300 applications from women scholars in West Africa who are at the late PhD levels and who are postdocs or who are early career academics, by which we mean like within the first 4 or 5 years of their career as academics. And I was struck about the level of advanced degrees that our women are getting, but also struck by the idea that this is not reflected in public service and in many other parts, and we see that we have a lot of work to do. It was Thomas Sankara that said that women hold the other half of the sky. And as revolutionary and as a soldier that he was as a young person, started a very conscious effort to inclusion of women in politics. And of course, it was cut short. So these are women who are going to occupy administrative positions who are already doing so. I know some of them who are already doing so and who will go ahead to represent us. So I'm very delighted by this representation that we'll have here. And so we'd like to invite Professor Foluke Dada Lawanson, who is the Dean College of Law, Caleb University, to make these remarks. Thank you, Madam, for coming.
Thank you so much. And I just want to join in echoing the congratulatory messages that have been passed on earlier. It's so funny when you're the last person to speak. Everybody must have spoken your mind. And you just have to start thinking, okay, what have they not said that I need to say? And in the interest of time, I'm going to be very brief. And I hope that maybe later on I can send in my paper so you can read through. Because the topic that I've been given is about emerging women academics and the possible challenges that you may face as new academics. I just want to quickly tell a story. And the story is that I never planned to be in academics. I always wanted to be a judge. If I wasn't a judge, I was going to be an entrepreneur. And suddenly my father called me into a conversation where he asked me to, when he started the discussion, it was about Professor Lujobi with that old, yes. He lived right on our street. And my father would walk down to him some evenings, chat with him and all that. And then from there, he got the idea that his daughter could become a professor of law. I never planned. So as I started, I'm just telling this story for a reason. When I got into teaching, I remember that the very first colleague of mine that I met, who was a classmate at the law school, said, "What are you doing here?" Because I always was very vocal about what I wanted to become. But the rest is history. When I became an associate prof, I wanted to go back again. I said, "Yes, you wanted me to be a professor. I'm a professor." And then he died. My father died when I was an associate prof. And I thought, I was already on the professorial cadre before he died, so I might as well leave. But my husband was like, "I promised your father." He called me in the room before he died and made me to promise that you would be a professor. And that was it. I had no other choice. So now you have consciously decided to come into academics. And I can tell you, from my experience, it was more of me becoming a stranger in my own country. I did my master's and the doctorate program in the US. And before then, I traveled to some other countries and all of that. You know, the colonial history where we kind of migrated to the UK, and then you would be on the other side by choice. So I got back, and everybody saw me as a foreigner. Even though I did my schooling and all that in Nigeria. Professor Junaike told me another story. I wonder why she didn't tell that story when she started, about how she was so focused on getting here. And, you know, for some people, they're that focused. For some of us, it was about business and money. But it changed. And as I started, I'm saying this because some of you will experience this. Our society, we can't take away patriarchy. We can't take away the fact that it's male-dominated, even academics. And as a female academic, you would get to the situation in most of the, I don't know what it is in other West African countries, but I want to imagine it may be the same. You have to do, if not double, triple of what your male colleague has to do to really settle in. And that was so important to me because then, talk about sexual harassment. I experienced it. Talk about economic, shall I just call it, well, it's the situation in Nigeria. There was something about a set of colleagues who were so poor. Because I tell you, welcome to the world of academics. The salaries are horrible. These colleagues, of course, did not have so much. And guess what? I started in the hinterland, Ekiti State. So there wasn't much of business that you could do. But then I set up my law firm and I was teaching. And it wasn't too much. I wasn't getting too much. So these colleagues saw me as somebody who should have just been satisfied with staying abroad and decided to come here, and she started taking from the little that he had. So that story, what it told me then was that as a female, getting yourself into this kind of work that we have chosen will require a lot of mental resilience. So please take that with you. It got to the point that I put in my resignation letter at a time. Then I was the only scholar then who was applying for ETF. In my faculty, nobody had applied for ETF. And I said it was possible. They said it wasn't. But I got the first, I got the second, I got the third. Then it became possible. Even at that, I could only encourage my colleagues who were females to go and apply for those. One of them got funding for PhD in South Africa, and before she did that, it was a whole lot of work and prayer. But it happened. That takes me to the other point I just alluded to, which is that we have to be our sister's keeper. Please, in whatever you do, these eminent ladies and the gentlemen, they have alluded to this fact of mentorship. It is very important. And the good thing is that at that time we had this association called National Association of Women in Academics, NAWACS. That association, at the end of the day, what we did was we bought plots of land. That was economic empowerment. So we have our estate, NAWACS estate. We also shared information about research. And that way, we were able to carry the younger ones along. So please, don't be silent. They've said it all, publish or perish. And the other thing our media guru said was, innovate or die. See, all this will become very important. It may seem like little things, but they will become very important because, like Prof said, some people will remain stagnant on one level and they never go anywhere. And I found out that it's mostly women. Then we will get involved in marketing, in different kinds of things, and the work-life balance is very key. We need to be sure that the family is stable. Because if you don't have that mental stability, it's going to affect your output. So whatever you do, your mental health is very important. Your background, your pillar of support, maybe your husband, maybe your child, whatever it is, you must carry them along. So increasingly, we're seeing this greater number of girls coming into education. And that's because of the work that has been consciously done by people in the media, in the academia, in different spheres of life. And I was discussing with Professor Otieno yesterday that it bothered me, and it still bothers me, that once we've trained all these girls and they go out there, it has not translated into economic empowerment. It has not translated into anything politically. So you have this opportunity now. And this is the reason I told my story of never wanting to be in academics. At that time, I was just like going here and there. I was struggling. I was being met by all this resistance and all that. But now, you have consciously done it. You really need to play this role where you mentor the girls right from school. And as you mentor them, you carry them along. In your research, you might find yourself researching into one topic. Any student you see that is interested, call them. Put their names on it. And let us move together. And hopefully, I know, I'm getting the... Sorry, I'm a teacher. It's a risk when you give us the mic. But importantly, let us do all that we can do to move people along. And I like to conclude on this note. And it is on the note of working. I want to congratulate quickly the men that are here. These are male champions, people who are genuinely interested in affairs that relate to women. And I was talking to Sophia yesterday, too, about a research area which we want to delve into, which is about building positive masculinity. We need to really look at our children, our sons, our colleagues, and all that, and ensure that we're able to develop or build this crop of men who would work with the women. Slavery did not end because black people wanted it to end. It ended because there were willing white participants who were in the parliament, who were able to make those changes. And I want to encourage you to continue as you have started in this positive line. There's so much to say, but I'll stop here because Prof is looking at me and I better yield the floor so that he will invite me another time. Thank you.